Capitalism ensures that you will never get paid what you're worth. Now, most of you probably think I just went completely off my rocker, but I'm going to explain what I mean there. This video is prompted by a short little clip that I saw. I believe this was a socialist communist professor who was speaking about the evils of capitalism and free markets, basically saying that this was a terrible thing, that you'll never get paid what you're worth. In fact, that's how the system is designed. So I want to kind of go through the argument here. Number one, he basically said that if you go to a potential employer and you say, here are my skills, I have the skills to increase your revenue as a company by $100,000 this year. Maybe it's a sales position. They cannot compensate you $100,000. Your skills to them will bring them $100,000. But they will not take that deal. They would hire you for maybe $99,000, for $90,000, definitely for $50,000. But if you provide them $100,000 in extra money, they are not going to pay you all $100,000 of that. So this communist Marxist professor is sitting here saying, this is the problem with capitalism and the problem with our world and free markets, that you can never get paid what you're worth, because the only way a company will ever hire you is if they can hire you for less than what you're worth to them. So I'm going to expose, number one, how this is true, but number two, how this is a good thing, and number three, how this is more than just an employee-employer relationship. This is how profits and exchange work at the deepest level of any human interaction.
Real quick word from today's sponsor, iTrustCapital. iTrustCapital allows you to use your retirement account to invest in Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Many people, when they buy gold or silver or Bitcoin for the first time, they just go out and they make the purchase, whether it's from a gold dealer or buying Bitcoin from an exchange. Later on, whether it's a year or 2 years down the road, when the price has gone up a lot, they go to sell it and realize they're hit with a capital gains tax. This leaves people with a sour taste in their mouth when investing in gold and silver and Bitcoin, because they're saying, hey, look, I know that inflation is eating away at my fiat currency, my dollars, but if I put my money in sound money, if I buy gold, if I buy silver, if I buy Bitcoin, I'm going to get hit with a tax on it anyway. And that's why it's so important to take advantage of retirement accounts when you are diversifying your assets. The problem is most brokerages, most retirement accounts do not allow you to invest in gold or silver or Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrencies. That is where iTrustCapital comes in. You can buy and sell Bitcoin, gold, silver inside of your IRA anytime. You can use this retirement account to make new contributions, or you can even use old retirement account money rolled over into an IRA with iTrustCapital. With everything going on right now in the crypto industry, many people are concerned about any exchange, any place that allows you to buy cryptocurrencies, about security and fraud. With iTrustCapital, they never take custody of your assets. There is no mingling of assets, and there is no way for iTrustCapital to access clients' money. It is securely stored in third-party institutional storage that is cold storage. And it's a regulated trust company so that it is a legal IRA. Like I said, they take security very seriously, which is why I use and recommend iTrustCapital to invest in gold, silver, and Bitcoin for your retirement account. And if you use my link in the description below, there's a special bonus waiting for you as well.
So, for an example, let's say you wanted to, you were having some random interaction with somebody on the street, and they said, hey, I want to give you a $5 bill. But in order for me to give you a $5 bill, you first have to give me 5 $1 bills. Now, they are giving you $5, you're giving them $5. The exchange means that those two things are exactly identical in worth and in value to each other. Would you take that deal? Maybe if you were scared that this person who's obviously crazy would attack you if you said no, but you would never go out of your way to engage in an exchange where you knew the value of what you were giving up was exactly equal to the value of what you were receiving in return. It just wouldn't happen. So let me ask you this. What would cause an exchange to ever take place? What would be the incentive for two parties to engage in any exchange? It would only be if that party felt like they were going to receive something that was worth more than what they were giving up, right? Because you're not going to give somebody $5 if they're going to give you $4 in return. Absolutely not. You're never going to go out of your way to give somebody $5 if they're going to give you $5 in return. But what if somebody came up to you and said, give me $5 and I'll give you $6? Would you take that deal? Sure, you make an extra buck. So ask yourself this then. Why would any employee ever give up their time, their labor, their skills for an employer if they're able to provide their employer with, say, $100,000 worth of extra revenue, but the employer is only giving them, let's say, $75,000 of that extra revenue? Why would an employee ever take that deal? Well, clearly it's because the employee is getting something that they want that is worth more than what they're giving. Let me say that again. The only reason that employee is willing to accept 75 grand is because that 75 grand is worth more to them than what they're giving up, which is usually 40 hours a week of whatever skill they have. Now you might think to yourself, well, if they're able to provide 100 grand of value to the company, then why would that person not just go out onto the open market and get all that $100,000 for themselves? And the answer is they probably can't without the employer. Take the example of a waiter, a server at a restaurant. Let's say they're able to provide $100,000 worth of extra revenue to the company, to the restaurant for the year, and their total compensation is $75,000. You might think they're getting cheated, but they couldn't do that without the restaurant. What do you think? They're just gonna walk up to some random person on the street and take an order and then go get food out of nowhere? No, you need the restaurant for those skills from that server to be relevant enough to provide value. Well, you might say, well, that restaurant is still cheating them. That restaurant should pay them more. But the reality is, if that server was actually worth a lot more, there would be other restaurants that they could go and offer their services and get a larger amount. Because if they're providing, let's say, $200,000 for the restaurant, they could probably show another employer, another restaurant, hey, give me $110,000, give me $120,000, give me $130,000, and work their way up and have the employers bid against each other. I mean, that's literally what happens for a lot of employees when they're considering two job offers. They negotiate back and forth and say, hey, he's offering me more, they're offering me more. What will you do in response? And then finally, you still say, okay, well, the fact that the employee is getting less than what they're providing for the employer means that they're being cheated. They're not getting paid what they're worth. And the answer is they're actually getting paid more than what they're worth. Because when you strip out the dollar value and you look at what the employee is actually giving up, the employee is actually trading time and labor, doing a job, doing something in return for money, which they're using to buy other wealth, things like food and clothing and shelter. And so all options considered, with all options available in front of the average employee, they are choosing willfully, voluntarily, with no coercion, I would rather give 40 hours of my time and my labor to do these tasks because what I'm getting, the 75 grand, is worth more to me than that time, that labor devoted to other activities. Otherwise, if that wasn't true, they would devote their time and labor to other activities, such as working for another employer or getting another job or doing other skills. And so the very fact that that choice is made proves that that is what that person values more than what they're giving up. And if we really want to strip down this example to its most basic bare bones structure and show how exchange doesn't happen unless both sides profit, let's look at a barter situation between the shoemaker and the sock maker. In one town, there's a shoemaker, and in another town next to it, there is a sock maker. Now the shoemaker makes a bunch of shoes, and then he finds that everybody walking around barefoot comes in to buy shoes and says, well, those are just going to give me blisters. Do you have any socks? And the shoemaker says, no, I don't have socks. In the other town, the sock maker tries to sell his socks to his barefoot town and realizes everybody comes in and says, no, those will wear out too fast and get holes. And so I don't want to buy socks. Do you have any shoes? And he says, no. So the two find each other. One of them has a ton of shoes because they're a shoemaker. One of them has a ton of socks because they're a sock maker, and they can't sell their products. They're useless by themselves. They each have 100 pair and they find each other and they say, hey, if we exchange 50 pairs with each other will each have 50 pairs of shoes and 50 pairs of socks. Now, let's say they agree and that exchange happens. Does that mean that the shoes are equal in value to the socks? No, it does not. Because for the sock maker, those 50 pairs of shoes were worth more to him than the 50 shares of socks that he lost. And to the shoemaker, the 50 pairs of shoes that he lost were worth less to him than the 50 pairs of socks that he got in return. Each party only engaged in the exchange because what they received was to them more valuable than what they lost. It was the opposite for the other side. What the other side gained was worth more to the other side than what they lost. So the items in the transaction, the value of them is irrelevant objectively. It's only relevant subjectively. Profit and value is subjective, and an exchange only happens when both parties profit. Never happens when only one party profits, and it never happens when the items are equal in value. And after the exchange happens, the shoemaker now has 50 pairs of shoes that he can sell with 50 pairs of socks and is actually a usable item that people will buy, and same for the sock maker. The exchange increased the amount of profit, the amount of value, the amount of wealth in the system. It didn't just swap it, it didn't decrease it, it increased it. And that is why capitalism ensures that you will never get paid what you're worth, and it is a damn good thing. As always, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.